Hello, bonjour, comment ça va? Je m'appelle Docteur Sébastien. Je suis un professeur de la langue française ici au Nigeria et je suis très content, je suis très ravi de vous avoir dans cette chaîne. Si c'est votre première fois, ça c'est Flow Up et là, on apprend la langue française de perspective anglophone. So, welcome to Flow Up channel. I'm so excited to have you here. It's your first time. This is where we'll learn French from the anglophone perspective. On a déjà assez de choses sur notre chaîne déjà. We have done this on our channel already. But for this particular video, we are beginning a new series on French language phonetics. We are going to be dealing with the basic rules, explanation, stuffs that have to do with phonetics to help you pronounce things better and be better at your pronunciation and speaking all together. So in this first video, we are going to begin with what we call les caractéristiques du français oral. À ce moment, on va essayer d'entamer les choses très importantes. Mais avant de commencer cela, j'ai l'envie de vous introduire parce que c'est important qu'en français, on a au moins 37, 36 sons. We have 36 phonemes in French, and all these phonemes are used in ways that are very interesting. Soit encore les schémas rythmiques, c'est-à-dire caractéristiques d'égalité syllabique. On reçoit encore le groupe grammatical, l'unité accentuée, on call it accentuation et décentuation des sons en français. On reçoit encore la continuité en français. À ce niveau, on parle généralement de l'enchaînement vocalique ou bien l'enchaînement consonantique. On parle aussi de la liaison. Et après cela, on a ce qu'on appelle l'intonation. Tout cela constitue les caractéristiques orales de la langue française. What we're saying is French language. As far as orals are concerned, we have 37 sounds, which are very important. We are going to be able to learn them and see how they do. But in using other sounds, you must understand what we call schéma rythmique. You know about syllables in French. What are syllables? How important are they? Then we have what we call accentuation and disaccentuation. We call it stress in English language phonetics. Then you also have what we call continuity. Continuity. And there are two forms. We have what we call enchaînement, linking of sounds, one sound to another sound, and that's in two ways. We have what we call enchaînement vocalique, and the linking of two vowel sounds from different words together and pronouncing them together. Also, we call enchaînement consonantique. You link a consonant of a particular word to at the beginning to another word in French. We call it l'enchaînement. So we're going to see the difference of these French language characteristics, which are very, very interesting. And if you are able to master them, you're able to pronounce the French language distinctly and it flows. You know, you have those R, très important, that's all those y a-t-il, stuff like that. Very important when you're linking words, you learn them. Then we'll deal with l'intonation, intonation in French. So we're going to look at all these things, all these put together, which we are going to be handling in this particular video. We refer to them as les caractéristiques orales du français, du français, du français. C'est important de noter cela. So I've stressed that word quite a lot. We are going to begin now with the very first one, which is called les syllabes du mot et l'égalité syllabique. We want to understand what syllables are. What are syllables in French? And on parle des syllabes, on parle de l'unité des mots. The smallest unit of a word is called a syllable in English. L'unité d'un mot, le plus petit, unité d'un mot, ça c'est syllabe. Mais à ce moment, comment se présentent les syllabes françaises? How are the French syllables? How does it work? Let's look at it very briefly. And then before we go to other aspects that are very, very interesting and stimulating as well. So we have, as you can see on your screen right now for the first lesson, no other but our wonderful topic in front of us, which is syllabe du mot et l'égalité syllabique. So we're going to be mastering what syllables are and the quality of syllables. Now, what I was trying to say here is that all syllables are equal in French. Yeah, they are equal in French. So, si on parle de syllabes comme d'autres langues, take note of this particular expression that is captured in this box. That's my emphasis in this video. Comme dans d'autres langues, le nombre de syllabes correspond toujours à l'oral au nombre de voyelles prononcées. Now we have vowels in every language and French language inclusive. Now we have your A, you have your E, you have your I, you have your O, you have your U. We call it A, E, O, whatever you want to pronounce them. But those are generally vowels. Now, in French, we can add H to it. We have what we call H muet in French. So, having touched on that, you want to take note of the fact that these syllables in French, they play some vital roles. What we will call generally, like I said, these syllables, those vowels you have learned, those A, E, I, O, U, it's not all of them that are pronounced in French. Now, the numbers of vowels that are pronounced in French, we have about, okay, 16 of them in French. That will determine the number of syllables we have. So we are going to see some examples right now. So the first thing is that the numbers of syllables that are pronounced, numbers of vowels that are pronounced determine the number of syllables you have in a word in French. So look at the example. Look at this now. You have babu. Look at this word. You have bab. You will find out that babu, the A is on the line, U is on the line. Those two vowels are pronounced. But in bab, though you have A and E, only the A is pronounced. So for babu, you have two syllables, whereas for bab, you have one syllable because only one vowel is pronounced in that context. Now, having established the fact that the number of vowels pronounced in a word determines the number of syllables, which is the sound unit of a word, the question now is, how do vowels appear in French? Now, there are at least 5 different ways French vowels appear. Let's look at them. Very interesting, briefly. Number one, the vowels in French can appear without the aid of any consonant. For example, you have this word there, ah, no consonant there. The next one is that the vowel can be preceded by a consonant. We have what we call tu. The T there is a consonant preceding the U, which is a vowel. Now, it could be preceded by a consonant and a semi-consonant. You are going to learn more about that as we progress in this series of lectures on French language phonetics. So you have Vieux, you have Louis, you have Louis. So you have the semi-vowel there before the vowel. So vowels are also introduced that way. You could have double consonants coming before the vowel. Example is plus, très, si. The next one, you could have two consonants plus a semi-vowel before the vowel or semi-consonant before the vowel. Example is trois. Example is pluie. So these are the ways vowels in French appear in written form. But mind you, once again, the number of vowels that are pronounced determine the number of syllables in a word. So it's important to note that. Now, the second thing to note as you're dealing with French language vowels, syllables, is that syllables appear in two ways. What we call syllabes ouvertes and syllabe fermée. This is it here, syllabe ouverte and then syllabe fermée. What is the difference? Quelle est la différence entre syllabe ouverte et syllabe fermée? Si les syllabes terminent avec une voyelle, look at it. Syllabes qui se terminent avec une voyelle, ce sont des syllabes ouvertes. En revanche, on the contrary, si le syllabe se termine avec une consonne. Ça, c'est syllabe fermée. Syllabe fermée. Now, having established those two differences, pour les syllabes en français, toutes les syllabes sont prononcées presque la même chose, c'est-à-dire au niveau de longueur, sauf les dernières syllabes. Only the last syllables of the word in French are stressed, are dragged. If not, every other syllable within the word, they are pronounced as very short. So we call it l'égalité de syllabes. C'est-à-dire toutes les syllabes à l'intérieur d'un mot ont le même durée. All the syllables in a particular word have the same duration. That is what we call l'égalité syllabique. So it's important to note all these because they are very, very vital, especially if you are a beginner studying French for the very first time. Now, having talked on syllables generally, the next thing you might want to take note of, I want to just bring to your attention is the fact that we can actually practice it. Now, let's look at this group of words and determine the number of syllables. Remember, once again, the number of vowels pronounced determine the number of syllables in the word. So look at this list of words now. We're dealing with this number 2 here. Let's deal with this exercise 3. This exercise 3. Now, if we can't play the recording right now, but it will be very interesting. But let's start with we have clavecin, number 1. Clavecin. If you look at this word very well, you are going to find that we have A as a vowel, E as a vowel, and I as another vowel. Clavecin. Clavecin. Now, in this word, there are 2 syllables, A and an. Here, clavecin. So there are 2 syllables there. When you come to flute, you have letter U and letter T, but there's only 1 syllable there. You have trumpet. Now you have O, E, and another E. Those are all vowels. But there is only 2 syllables here because we have O pronounced in tron and you have E pronounced in E, which is trumpet. There are just 2 syllables there. We have clarinet, number 4. Clarinet. In this number 4, clarinet, when you look at it ordinarily, you have A as a vowel, I as a vowel, E as another vowel, and E as a vowel. You might be thinking we have 4 syllables. No, let's pronounce it again. Cla, A, ri, net. There are 3 syllables there. Now, look at the number 5, very interesting. We have og. O is a vowel, U is a vowel, E is a vowel. But we have just 1 syllable in this particular word. Og. Now let's look at this one. Harmonica. Harmonica. Now in harmonica, we have A as a vowel, O as a vowel, I a vowel, A a vowel. We have harmonica. There are 4 syllables because those 4 vowels are pronounced. Now we have battery. We have A as a vowel, E, I, and E again as a vowel. 3. We have battery. So there are just 3 syllables here. We have harp. We have A and E as vowel, but it's just 1 syllable because only the R is pronounced. The E is not pronounced. Now we have violon. 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 In violon, what you have there is 2 syllables. Therefore, you have that. You have I, you have O, you have O again, but they are just 2 syllables. Because we have just vieux and on. That I there is semi-vowel, so we have violon. We have accordion. A is a vowel, O is a vowel, E and O again. We have accordion. There are 4 syllables there. So you want to take note of all these. It is the number of vowels that are pronounced that determine the number of syllables you have in a word. So having seen that example, we are going to go over to another important aspect of the French language orals, the characteristics. We have seen syllables now, what it means, the quality of syllables. We have seen the open and closed syllables. We've seen how vowels appear in a word, and we've seen the examples in determining the number of syllables. Now, the next thing we are going to be looking at in lesson 2 is something close to syllables, around syllable, but we are taking it a step further. In one of my remarks earlier, I told you that all the syllables are equal in the middle of a word because only the last one is stressed, basically, in French. Now, let's look at very briefly what we call la syllabe accentuée et syllabe accentuée. That is, we're looking at stressed and non-stressed syllables. That's what it means. Syllables that are stressed and ones that are not stressed. Now, le mot est au principe accentué sur le dernier syllabe. Look at this box here. Le mot est en principe accentué sur la dernière syllabe, meaning the last syllables are always stressed. L'accent do est un accent de durée plutôt que d'intensité. So the key thing here is that the last syllables often get stressed. That's the key note as far as this is concerned. So, and I've mentioned that initially, the last syllables get stressed. Now, a syllable that is stressed is called syllable accentué. The one that is not stressed can be called syllable anaccentué. So that is one thing to take note of. Les syllabes sur laquelle porte l'accent sont plus longues. Now, the syllables where the stress are longer. Let's look at the that other ones in the word. Look at this word. We have monsieur. We have bravo. We have paella. Now you find out that seu is longer than mon. You have o longer than a. You have a longer than a and e. So the word that carries the stress is the one that is stressed. We call it accentué. Donc, le mot doit être désaccentué s'il n'est pas à la fin du mot syntagsique. Now, some people make the mistake of trying to drag every word. No, you don't drag words in French except they are the last syllables in a word. So it's important to note all this because you need them as you go on as an Anglophone, learning the French language, trying to speak it properly. Now, let's look at something else now, as you can see on your screen. We have on distinct trois types de groupes syntactiques majeurs, qui sont aussi des unités de son. We have encore group nominal, we have group verbal, we have group prepositional. These are different things, that's at the level of grammar. At the level of grammar. La phrase composée des trois groupes syntactiques majeurs ci-dessus a donc trois accents principaux. Let's look at this sentence together. Let's look at stress there. We have un cinéma complexe. Ici, place is stress. Ouvrira bientôt is stress. And then we have à 10 minutes de chez moi. So you have multiples. We have bientôt. We have moi. That's where the stress is in those words. So where the stress is called syllable accentué. But in between the word, we don't stress them, we call it syllable désaccentué. Now, les mots utiles, articles et adjectifs, antéposés, pronoms, personnels, prépositions, conjonction, un, deux. Lorsqu'ils se rencontrent à l'intérieur du mot syntactique, sont totalement désaccentués. Now, what we're saying is words like un, a, di, do, chez, that is article, adjectives, pronoun, personal pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions in the middle of a word, they are usually not stressed. We call them désaccentués. So, you take note of those. Les autres mots internes au groupe sont partiellement désaccentués. Le nom cinéma dans le groupe nominal et minute dans le groupe prépositionnel ainsi que le verbe ouvrira dans le verbe verbal perdent leur accent dans un discours prononcé à vitesse normale. What we are saying here is that, look at this sentence now. We have un cinéma multiplex ouvrira bientôt à 10 minutes de chez moi. This cinema here is not stressed. Ouvrira dera is not stressed. Minute is not stressed because the stress is on multiplex, bientôt, and of course, chez moi, the moi there. So these are aspects you want to take note of. It's important when you're dealing with stress and unstressed syllables in French. What them syllabes accentuées et syllabe désaccentué. The key thing is that the last syllable is stressed. And that syllable that is stressed is longer in duration. We call that l'intensité. Donc, il y a plus d'intensité. There is more intensity when you are pronouncing those syllables that are stressed compared to other ones in the middle of a word that are not stressed. So it's important we look at that. And as you've seen so far, now, these stress and unstressed syllables are very important. Let's look at some few words now that will help us understand practice this stress better. Take, for example, as you will see on your screen right now, look at these words we want to look at. We have, for example, Chicago. Now, in the word Chicago, we have Vladivostok. You have Pecan. You have Bien, Buenos Aires. You have Istanbul, Bull. You have Nicaragua. You have États-Unis. You have Nouvelle-Zélande. You have Allemagne. You have Senegal. Now you see that these last syllables are all stressed. That is where the stressed are. So the last syllables of a word in French are usually stressed. And we call that act accentuation. Whereas the other syllables in between the word are not stressed. We call that des accentuation. So it's an important aspect to note as you go ahead trying to master the French language.